Good morning, I'm Lynn, and welcome to a cold and wet day at Ewetopia Farms. We're going to be doing everything indoors today, so let's get started. I hate to report that there's still no sign of Buddy. We're still hopeful, but he was the youngest of the cats and he was more of the wanderer, so we're hoping nothing happened to him, but I'm thinking it's not a good sign. Anyway, right now I've got to tag this little lamb here so that they can go out, and she's kind of a funny ewe. She is a first timer, and the lamb is from Sheriff, but when I went to scan her, she acts like a goat. She's stamping at me because she doesn't want me around the lamb, but watch what else she does. Come here, honey. Oh, no. Now she's not doing it, but she might do it when I go in to tag the lamb, but she was spitting at me. Never in my whole life have I seen sheep do that, but I've seen goats do it, and she was definitely protecting her lammy. And I don't blame you, that's a good mommy. But I'm a little nervous about going in there now. You might attack me. Silly girl. But you have a beautiful lamb. So I got him done real quickly so she wouldn't be too stressed out by him getting it done. She's the 202nd ewe to have a lamb. And he's a boy, so it's in green. He got his ear tags, his tail docked, his selenium shot, and now we'll be just waiting for Arnie to trim her hooves, and we'll deworm her, and then she can go out and join the two twins. Mommy, you don't need to be that upset. Your lammy's just great. Now, to me, it looks like maybe he's sucking on one side, but we'll have to look at that when we trim her, because sometimes when you have a single, that's why you ideally want twins. Oh, it looks better now that she's standing up, but sometimes they'll just suck on one side, and once they've learned to suck on one side, they'll keep on sucking on one side, and then the other side will get swollen and engorged. So even if at that point he tried to suck on the other side, it would be sore, so mom wouldn't let him. So it would be like a vicious circle. And if that were the case, you would milk that side out just to relieve the pressure. And once the pressure was gone, she would let him nurse again. But I'm thinking it's okay. You can usually tell if they're sucking on one side because the bag will be uneven. You are so pretty, you guys. Just beautiful. And these are the two they'll be joining. I think this little rowdy crew will be happy to have a new lamb. It's always more fun when they have bigger groups to play with. You're very nice, Mom. You're very pretty too. It's a really wet, dampy day today, and it's supposed to be like this for like 5 days, I think. So not very nice weather at all. These are the sheep that were supposed to have been sheared last week, and they're supposed to be getting done on Tuesday, and we brought the Suffolks back, but for shearing we're going to have to run the Suffolks back again. Now it's going to be raining, so we'll see how that works out. We're not doing that today. We're going to wait till the very last minute this time. But we put some nice clean bedding down for them in here, because on dampy days, I don't know, things just get smellier and just not nice and cozy. So we figured if they're going to be in here, it should be nice and cozy for them. Because right now, it feels like 3 degrees here with a wind and the rain. It's not pleasant. Hi, Big Betty. You are always a sweetheart. She is. I mean, we were talking about Texels yesterday, and she's half Texel. And one thing we didn't mention about Texels is that they are unbelievably nice disposition. Aren't you? Because usually most of my favorites have some Texel in them. They are just a really, really nice sheep. Oh, Big Betty, you're here to stay, sweetheart. You're now the official mascot. Aw, she is an angel. She's been here 10 years now. Oh, baby. You're a good girl. Oh, you're a good girl. I'm glad we put some nice straw down for you, because you'll like that. She had twin lambs this year, so I can see she's in after lambing condition right now. But hopefully she'll gain it all back this summer, and we're not going to put her through the stress of having lambs again. She was born a twin. She had a brother as well, and throughout her career here, she has always had twins. So right up until retirement. So she's exactly what we wanted and expected of a sheep. We've never had a problem with her. So yeah, she's a nice girl. And because it's rainy, we're gonna put straw down in this barn too. And these girls are so used to going outside now, it was pretty hard to keep them in. But of course they didn't know it was raining. They wouldn't have stayed out, but we didn't want them running through all the mud. And the mud actually gets between their toes, can cause infections. So the next little while, all the sheep are going to be indoors for their health. No one wants to sit in a wool sweater in the pouring rain. And like I said, if they're walking in mud and water, then they're going to get more likelihood of foot issues like foot rot, scald, things like that. We don't want that happening. Benny! Come on, Benny. Katie used to do that, and now she wants to do it. Don't do it, Katie. So as Arnie is rolling out some hay for bedding, I guess I'll address another question that was put to me, and that was why we don't breed our sheep as lambs. Because it is common practice that people will weigh their sheep, and if they're over 100 pounds, they'll actually breed them. And that's not really a good determination of whether a sheep is ready to breed or not, because obviously our Suffolks are over 100 pounds at 100 days, and you would never breed them at that age. So going by weight totally would depend on the breed, and I don't think it's the method to use. I think what you want to be determining whether they're ready to breed or not is by their age. So personally, if I was going to breed a ewe for the first time, I want her to be at least a year old. Now this is the group of our fall ewe lambs. A lot of people would come in here and would definitely breed them now. And they probably would cycle, and there's a good chance that a good proportion of them would catch. Some first-timers will not catch, but I'm guessing because this is a more prolific breed, they would catch. So if I could breed them now, why wouldn't I? That's the question. So there are many, many reasons, and for all farmers, the methods they use and why they do things will always be different depending on their situation. Our situation is that, one, we're breeding for breeding stock, and two, we're older. So because we're older, we want to have sheep lambing when it's convenient for us, not when it's convenient for the sheep. So if we were to breed these guys, we'd be back into the fall breeding thing, which we just got out of now because we want all our sheep lambing in the winter. That way, for us, we have less work to do because they're all at one part of the year, and the rest of the year we have off to do the rest of our farming and get on with our lives. Plus, we find that the fall lambs, when we're trying to sell them as breeding stock, don't sell well. So, and fall breeding, they have less lambs. So there's lots of reasons why we wanted to stop doing that. And because we want breeding stock, we want to breed the sheep when the lambs are fully grown themselves. And I find that sheep, any breed, is at its full height by a year old, and they're at their full width by 2 years old. So ideally, we want to wait till their bone is developed, which is the 1 year old. That's the full height. The width comes into play with muscling and stuff like that. So they can be pregnant and still be widening up and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, if you breed sheep, and this is just my theory, I've been in sheep for 24 years now, and I've had Shetlands, Dorpers, Katahdins, Suffolks, Dorsets, Rideaus, and crosses. So I've had quite a bit of experience, so I am talking from experience. But because in the past when I started, when I had Shetlands, they were my first. Everybody was breeding them at 6 to 8 months old, so I thought, I was new to sheep, I thought that's what you did, so I did it. And they do have lambs, and they can look after them, and all that works out. However, it does stunt their growth, the ewes' growth. So if you're in the business of selling breeding stock, you don't want to be stunting the growth of your ewes or your ewe flock. Not to mention, I really don't think you want to be stunting the growth on a commercial flock either. So in order not to stunt their growth, you would have to be a really good nutritionist and making sure that the moms had like optimum nutrition, because if you breed them before a year old, they are not only trying to grow themselves, but you're also asking them to grow a lamb or lambs as well. So what the nutrients that would normally be put into that mother are now going to be divided up and putting it into the lamb as well, or lambs. And the reason I say that it stunts their growth is I began to morally not like it with the Shetlands, because I thought, why would you breed a baby to have more babies? Well, the answer usually is for money. And I thought, as I've said a million times, I'm not in this for money. Like, I want to make a living, I want to be profitable, but to me, in my opinion, in order to be profitable and successful and have pride in your sheep and the work you've done, you should be concentrating on your sheep. Because good, healthy, strong, well-developed sheep are only gonna profit you in the long run. Breeding them as lambs, I feel, is a short-term gain. So when I had my Shetlands, I stopped breeding them as lambs. Everyone else continued because we had a Shetland group going. And then we with our Shetland group, we started to promote the breed because it was a heritage breed and not too many people knew about them. So we started showing and stuff like that. Well, once I stopped breeding my lambs, my ewes were producing bigger lambs. And that continued. So that when I hit the show ring, people always said I had the biggest Shetlands around. And some people said I fed them too much, or I was doing something to fudge it, like maybe crossing them. I don't know. But the only thing I was doing was I was breeding them older. And yeah, of course, like I've said a million times, the big sheep win the shows. So I was also winning the shows. And that was never the goal, but that was the end result. So I felt like I had stronger, bigger, better fleeced animals, and it was showing up. So I liked that. And it was the same with my Dorpers, my Katahdins, with everything. We never bred them as lambs. This year, we had a few lambs. When we were sorting, I don't know how they even got in the group, to be honest. I think they were with the ewe group, and we just threw them in, and they were there. And we thought, oh, what's the harm in breeding, 3 of the lambs? They were at the proper age that everyone else would be breeding their sheep. But guess which sheep those were? Remember when I had adult ewes getting into the creep area earlier on? It was them. None of my other ewes could get into the creep area, but those 3 could get into the creep pen because they had lambs, and as a result, did not grow on the way they normally would have. So, to make it short, that is basically why I don't breed lambs. I always have that saying, and I say it a lot on here, and that's just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. I think if you have the patience and can wait till they're a year old, you're going to benefit in the long term. I think the mums do, the lambs do, and you do. I do think in the long run it's more profitable. The first year when you're feeding them and they don't have lambs, yeah, it's a little hard to swallow sometimes. But you got to think long term when you're in business. Now, the other problem we have is that when the sheep are a year old, that would put them into basically breeding them in the spring for fall lambs. And now we're out of fall lambing, and Suffolks wouldn't do it anyway. So it was okay for us with the Dorsets because we'd at a year old we'd breed them and it would be fall lambing, and it worked out perfect. They didn't decrease in size or anything. But for the Suffolks, it meant waiting till they're probably a year and 3 months before they would get bred, and they would be lambing as they hit 2 years old. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. But if you're selling breeding stock especially, people want to see good, well-built, framey sheep, and I really don't believe you get it if you breed them as lambs. And I think if you question most purebred breeders, you'll find they're doing the same thing. It seems to be the commercial guys that are breeding them more as lambs. I do believe that most purebred breeders are waiting till at least a year old. So basically, Oh, the other thing I was going to say is that if we were going to breed these guys as lambs, so they're born in January and we breed them, say we breed them in November, which is prime breeding season, and they're still lambs. You could breed them then, or even in December, get them real close to a year old. That would be perfect if you were anyone but us. For us, the spring to summer months for lambing is extremely bad because that's when we're doing all our field work. So it's really hard to do both at the same time. Plus, lambs that are born, say, May, June, are going to be growing up in the heat of the summer. And in the heat of the summer, lambs do one thing that I always talk about with feeding sheep, is that they don't eat. In the cold, cooler temperatures, the lambs that are born are eating a lot, which means they're growing a lot and they're growing to their potential. In the summer, it gets so hot that they spend the majority of their time laying down. Moms lay down so they're not nursing the lambs, and lambs lay down so they're not eating creep feed. And as a result, again, the same sheep that if you had waited will grow out to be lesser sheep than they would have if they had been born at a time where they had more access to feed. Because food influences how you grow too. So if you are starved out as you're an infant, you still get enough to survive, but you aren't eating, say, half the volume of food, you will never grow to your potential. You will always grow out to be a smaller sheep. So that's another reason we don't breed them, because for us to breed them at that age, it would conflict with our schedule and also wouldn't produce optimum results for us. So the first year that you get your lambs and you don't breed them right away, it's a hard pill to swallow, having them sitting there doing nothing. But once you have a flock like this and everybody else is lambing, it just kind of transitions in and your income keeps flowing and nothing changes because it's the way your farm works. Everything goes around and they come into the flock, other sheep leave, and it's just a cycle, and you don't even really notice that there's some open ones, except when people come over and say, wow, who are those sheep? Why didn't you breed them? So if you had a 13-year-old daughter, technically she can have babies, but I think you'd be pretty upset if she did. You don't want, even though she's quite capable of having children, it's not something you want. That is still considered a baby, even though she can. Hi there. You are such a sweetheart, Lambert. You were eating. You were eating with your friends. Yeah, Arnie's trimming this mum. They've been in the jug one day, but she only has a single, and the family group pen is really empty, so she's safe to go out with her lamb. She's obviously bonded to her lamb.
Come on.
They don't like the back feet doing.
Come on.
He's just waiting for her to calm down. Whoop. Oh, and there's a... There you go, buddy. This lamb, you can tell he's above average already. He's a nice, square, well-built lamb.
No, just wholesale. number now.
This mom over here, the Suffolk, she's so stressed out by babies crying. She's, look at her. She's upset because she hears that lamb crying. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully she's okay when we put the new lamb in here. It's all right, Mom. It's not your... It's all right. It's not an abandoned lamb. We've got a home for it. That Suffolk mom is so upset by lambs crying. Now sometimes when you put mums together, they fight or they hit each other's lambs. Hopefully these two get along okay. That Suffolk mom, she's so stressed out by crying lambs. Looks like they're all going to be okay. 2 beautiful ewes and 3 beautiful lambs. As Arnie wires in a light for the porch, we're going to call that a day. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed your time at Ewetopia Farms, please give us a like. I see that a lot of you are really putting in the effort to give us that like, and we really do appreciate that. Anyway, I hope you join us again tomorrow for the next episode at Ewetopia Farms. See you next time. Bye.